What is going on, FA Nation? My name is Justin Fensterman, along once again with James Grande, also known as Jimmy Grande, and it's time to talk some NBA. A big Friday night slate, Grande. You're ready to dominate, my friend. How are you?
Good, man. Fancy. We've been on nothing but massive slates this week. I think it was Monday. We've gotten the Monday, Wednesday, Friday treatment this week, and I think it's been 10, 11, 10. So, nothing out of the ordinary today, brother.
No, nothing at all. Let me tell you, nothing. It's just we've been talking injuries off the air the entire day. So let's talk about what exactly we have going on, because a plethora of injuries have been announced in the last hour and more to come here. Stephen Curry is going to be out. Same with Trae Young. Same with Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, Andre Drummond. He's going to be out. Kyle Lowry out tonight. John Collins still out. Lonzo Ball out. Josh Hart is also out. Danilo Gallinari is out. Lou Dort is out. Darius Bazley still out. DeAndre Hunter is out. Malik Monk is out. Tristan Thompson as well, still out. Cam Reddish still out. Ty Jerome still out. Justice Winslow is out. David Nawaba as well. J.J. Redick, Rodney Hood, P.J. Tucker is out. Garrett Temple and Semi Ojeleye. Then we've got some questionables here, including Domantas Sabonis with a quad, Zach LaVine with an ankle, John Wall with a knee, R.J. Barrett with an ankle. Bobby Portis has been in the COVID protocol. He's still considered questionable heading into tonight. Kobe White with that neck / I'll say this from my research, minor spine potentially too. So I'm kind of shocked that he's questionable going into this one. Derrick Rose with an ankle, he's questionable. Reggie Bullock is sick, so he's questionable. Same with Grayson Allen, he's got a hip issue. Wes Matthews, Hassan Whiteside, Jeremy Lamb, and Torrey Craig are all questionable, Grande. And without further ado, my man, Ray Kuhn on the DFS NBA playbook here on fantasyalarm.com. Shall we start with those high-priced point guards, my man?
Yeah, of course. Let's get it.
All right, so where are we starting when it comes to paying up here? Because you've got on this slate guys like Doncic, you've got Lillard. Here's the thing. Even though the Knicks have been able to contain guards, Luka is an all-around guard who can drive, and you and I both know that the Knicks are ultra exposed inside. So a guard like Luka, I think, can get through and have plenty of success if he gets even a step inside that arc against this team.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think he's a good play. I don't think he is the priority spend up on the slate, but I think he's in play. I will say it's a very slow-paced Knicks team, and the Mavericks don't play with a lot of pace either, so this game won't be necessarily exciting. I mean, just a 212 over-under right now, Fensty. And that's been a trend with Knicks games, and it's been hard to honestly use a lot in Knicks games because of that.
And James, like we said with the Wizards, and we've been on a stream together, it's always a pace-up spot. It's always a pace-down spot when it comes to Knicks.
It really is. So, I think Luka's one of those guys that is kind of matchup-proof in a sense where, he could triple-double and score 25 and still get you 55 fantasy points, even in a slow-paced game. But, I think there's higher upside elsewhere. I think Luka's a very good play. I don't think he is my favorite spend-up of the day.
All right, so then what do you like at point guards? If we go a little bit down when it comes to the pricing, we'll give you some price points on FanDuel and DraftKings. By the way, speaking of guards, we don't see this too often, James. An upgrade. Ty Jerome, now questionable all of a sudden.
2 days in a row, Fancy. Last night was Paul George, who was ruled out. He was flat out ruled out in the morning, and then suddenly he was questionable, and then it's like, oh, he's playing, and then he missed a wide open layup, but that's for neither here nor there. Ty Jerome, I mean, that's interesting because
Maladon.
OKC's already depleted. It's kind of a trickle-down. There's Svi, there's Maladon, there's Kendrick Williams. I think they're all still in play, but obviously it's something to monitor if Jerome does end up playing. Other point guards, though, that I have my eye on, I love where Drew Holiday's been at recently, and now he gets one of the best matchups on the board against Portland. Yes, the price tag is elevated, but Portland can't stop a nosebleed, so I really like Drew Holiday. John Morant in a pace-up spot, it's as good as it gets. And I think it is going to be one of those chalky John Morant nights, which we get in matchups like this. But it's hard to ignore when, one, his price is under $7,000 on FanDuel, and two, it's the matchup. So I love Morant, but Fancy, honestly, especially on FanDuel, right? If you just let's go over to the New Orleans side of things. They have two guys that stand out to me in Eric Bledsoe, because FanDuel now has moved Eric Bledsoe to point guard, and Kira Lewis, who's 4,100 on FanDuel and 3,700 on DK. I want a lot of Pelicans tonight. I mean, not only are all those same guys ruled out, add Josh Hart to that mix too. Yeah. He's ruled out. And it's Atlanta without their best two offensive weapons. There's really nothing to dislike about Bledsoe. There's really nothing to dislike about Kira Lewis. And obviously NAW stands out as well. I was just going to mention him at shooting guard, but whatever, mention him here. All three Pelicans point guards are elite plays on this slate. I guess, I just want to turn this around on you real quick.
Sure.
Eric Bledsoe played 46 minutes last night, and he has been playing a lot of minutes lately. We've seen him now over 33 and 5 straight. Does that concern you, considering where he is in his career and how oft injured he's been?
I mean, it does concern me a little bit. Now, here's the thing in this game. I mean, how much is he going to have to go? I feel like they're going to have to let some of the other guards fly as well. I feel like the Pelicans have tried to make certain moves so they can pave the way for Kira Lewis Jr. That's why I was so shocked that they drafted him with the many guards that they already had.
Right.
That shows me, and especially with what we've heard from this organization, from guards who were traded away like J.J. Redick, Lonzo Ball has been hurt but has also had some apparent drama with the organization. They drafted this guy for a reason. They're going to play this guy now. And we're starting to see it a little bit with his minutes. And James, something that you have been so great at, peripheral stats when it comes to some of these players. I feel like a lot of people casually play DFS, look at that point total, and if you look there, it's not impressive. But he's doing enough on the glass, on the defensive end, and with ball distribution that it's adding up, especially like I'm seeing on DraftKings here.
Yeah, I mean, and he's getting those peripheral stats, and last night he went 4 for 13 from the floor. So if Kira Lewis does, I mean, there's no reason he's not going to play 30-plus minutes. Eric Bledsoe, a little concerned, though. I really am. I'm a little concerned about the minutes last night. We could see him pulled back, and I think that could unleash Lewis. Speaking of guards, Fensty, Jordan Poole listed as probable. I think he's interesting, considering Steph Curry is listed as out. Just throwing that out there. Raptors defense.
Apparently, and looking at some sources, that apparently he's looking like he's going to start if he ends up playing.
Yep. So, I mean, I think that's definitely another route that we could take. I think the point guard position is very strong. And I mean very strong today.
What about Sato? Ray has Sato in the playbook, which is very intriguing because normally you don't want to attack Utah. But if Kobe White ends up not playing, I mean, do you look at him or do you like some of the other value? Is this a situation, James, like we've talked about before, where if you're looking at Sato with no Kobe White, would you rather just spend up the extra $300-400 to get Eric Bledsoe at that point?
Yeah, or just save $1,100 and get Kira Lewis, right? You can literally save a whole bunch of money and go to Kira Lewis, who's playing 30 as well. I mean, look, I don't hate it. Because Kobe White questionable, Zach LaVine questionable. We saw Satoransky play 30 minutes, and he fouled out. He could have played 35 minutes in the Phoenix game. So he's productive when he's on the floor for 30-plus minutes. We've seen it time and time again. I think there are priorities. I think there's money better spent, but I don't hate it. I mean, it's under 5K. We're only asking for 24 fantasy points, and he does that with ease relatively every night.
Right. Let's talk before we go to the shooting guards here. Other Warriors that are now active officially, Kevon Looney and Eric Paschall. Draymond Green is still probable, by the way. So just keep that in mind when looking at the Warriors. Not like you would look at most of those guys anyway. Or would you? You never know. Let's move on to shooting guards here and talk about CJ McCollum for a second, man, because I saw that he was on the cover of Adam Ronis's prop bets at wageralarm.com. And so when I saw that, I immediately went and I looked. And the first thing that stands out, bro, this guy's been blocking shots over his last few games.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I mean, hey, man.
They put something in his legs when he was hurt or something?
Hey, this guy seems like he's one of the hardest working players in the NBA. He's always seemingly been that way, and maybe he's worked on some things to help him get off the floor a little more, because he's never been like the athletic type, you know. He's been the score a couple dribbles with his left hand and knock down Jay, but
he's got hands, which is good. But ups,
yep.
It's almost like from the NBA jerseys.
Right.
Is it the shoes?
Right,
seriously.
Right.
Like, bro,
Right.
I'm like seeing these blocks, and I'm like, this guy all of a sudden now is over the last few games, for the most part, what, a 4-category producer? He's grabbed a steal 2 here or there. 4 to 5 categories for this guy. I mean, we're all aboard at 82, right?
Yeah, all aboard, especially with the way he's scoring the basketball. And Fancy, last live stream I said it to you, and I'm going to say it again. I'd rather continue to pay this price tag for CJ McCollum than Damian Lillard's price tag. Yes, he went for 58 last time out, and that was nice. And obviously that can happen against Detroit. But for a majority of the last 2 weeks, it's been McCollum outproducing Dame. So that's right. I still remain strong on that front.
At this point, Grande, in the next week and a half, this guy could be at 9K on one of these sites. And then we have a real decision to make, my friend.
Correct.
So let's enjoy it now. 8,200 CJ McCollum. No reason not to claim. It's the Bucks. So what? You can attack the Bucks guards. You can. I'm telling you. Not just because they have Giannis. And I've had to explain this to people, Grande. Just because the Bucks have Giannis that covers a lot of ground because of his size, that does not mean that this team doesn't have any vulnerability. Right. This team has a few holes that you can get to. Number one, on the low block, even though they have Giannis. Yeah, that's what happens when you have soft-ass Brook Lopez right there. Then the other place is their guards. And that's where tonight McCollum should be able to thrive. And the other stats, he's not just scoring dependent. Well, let's move on to other shooting guards, Grande. Who are you looking at when it comes to value below 8,200 on these sites?
I mean, Andrew Wiggins is clear-cut, like, mid-tier play. I think it's Wiggins and Van Vliet are probably the two guys that everyone's going to go. Oh, yeah. Everyone's going to gravitate towards. I mean, Van Vliet, you could see it from the draft forecaster percentage. Everyone's already gravitating. And Fancy, I don't know how many times I'm going to start screaming it with a microphone. Like,
scream it,
why is Fred Van Vliet $7,400? You know, like from the rooftops, because he shouldn't be.
How much?
7,400.
All right, good. Just want to make sure everybody heard, just for the sake of it here. Because, look, with Lowry out and against this Warriors team, it's going to be a nice, fast-paced game, my friend. And those dimes are going to go up under 8,000. Again, Grande, one more time for those that might have a little trouble hearing some wax in their ears. How much does this guy cost on FanDuel?
$7,400.
There you go. You'll all be saying that in your sleep when he comes through for you tonight. I like that, Grande. Feeling spicy today. It's been a fun day. Let's talk about value guards here, because we talked about the Pelicans having to take advantage there. Do you like what you've seen from NAW? Because here's the deal. With Alexander Walker, 6,200, I'm still willing to pay, man.
I'm all in, Betsy. I mean, I don't know who needs to see more. Like, what else do we need to see?
No, I don't think we need to see anything.
He was taking a lot of shots with all of these guys in the lineup. He was producing with Zion, with Ingram, with Hart, right? He was producing when Lonzo was there and he was coming off the bench. Now it's the NAW show. He takes 24 shots, 54% shooting, by the way, Fensty, for 31 actual. And by the way, he's a very good rebounding guard. 5+ rebounds in 5 straight games. So there's really nothing to dislike here, and it's elite.
One thing, can I say one thing?
I mean, I'm shocked that there's even a thing, but yeah, go.
Ownership,
sure. Okay, and I think that there is when we're discussing DFS, I think you need to figure out what's good chalk and what's bad chalk, right? If you're a tournament player, then this is going to turn you off completely. 52%, you're like, no way. But also, sometimes when you play tournaments, you even have to bite the bullet sometimes. And you know what? You differentiate elsewhere. There's 10 games. I can be different in other aspects of my lineup. When NAW goes out against Atlanta in a very high-paced environment, in a spot that he's going to take 20+ shots again and play 35+ minutes again, it's hard to fade that. Like in cash games, it's lock and load. Like, don't even.
Yeah, no. That's why I made sure to say just tournaments.
In tournaments, though, there's good chalk, there's bad chalk. This feels like a spot that you even if it misses, like you made the right decision. Just based on everything that's missing from the Pelicans, the matchup, what Alexander Walker's been able to do recently, with or without these guys. So this is good chalk, Bensi, and not all chalk is bad. I know, like, you hear a lot of the times people hear chalk and then, like they like a fur ball comes out of their mouth, but it's not all bad, and this is good chalk. And but again, like you said, it is a high ownership play. If you want to fade it, by all means, do so.
Because there's such cheap options on this team.
Fair.
That, everyone's going to be going after NAW. I'm going to be going after him. Of course I am. But again, in tournaments, that ownership, that's why I always will ask about ownership percentages with you, and that if that will turn you off to certain players that are not the usual stud star guys, you know what I mean,
right,
that are normally high priced. Let's move on to the threes here, because this is where I think we can also hit the value sector a little bit. And the team that I haven't really been focusing on too much lately, I mean, before we hit that value tier, are there any small forwards that are worth paying up for? Let's just say beyond 7,500.
I mean, the matchup against Houston's really good for Jaylen Brown and Boston in general. And, I do like when Jaylen Brown's price tag dips below 8K. That generally, like, catches my eye. I don't love recent form. I don't love the knee at all. I think the knee is going to, I mean, it's already been stated that it's going to give him problems throughout the rest of the year. It wouldn't shock me at one point if Boston fell out of it, that he gets shut down, to be perfectly honest with you.
Tell me that. I have a bet on him winning most improved players.
Vincent, you're a realist. I think you understand. You do the injury report as well, which is out, the update today on fantasyalarm.com. But you do the injury report. You've been dealing with this knee for months now, so I do like Jaylen Brown quite a bit. It's a tournament play only for me because the knee could flare, it could give him an issue, and he just has
it with DeAndre Hunter.
Right.
Look at him now, man.
Return one game,
swelled up, and it hasn't gone down since.
Yep. So I like Jaylen Brown. Middleton, I think Middleton's a nice play for tournaments. That game, 240 total, by the way, in Milwaukee, Portland. So I think, like, we want exposure there. That's why I'd probably be a little more lenient on Dame today, because, like, it's hard to just ignore a 240 total, right?
Right.
So I think Brown and Middleton are pretty strong plays. And then, shout out to Kuzma, who gets the Kings, right? No Drummond now against. So I like those guys.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. What about someone else who's projected to have a very high ownership, someone that you call Bogdan Bogdan, also known as Bogdan Bogdanovich?
I mean, that's like Bogdan Bogdan, right? Heck yeah.
It is.
Man, this guy is a roller coaster of emotions, because the games that he first entered the starting lineup, he goes off against Sacramento in a revenge narrative. We're like, great, we're getting last year's version of Bogdan. He's back. Then I think Hunter returns in that Golden State game, they blow Golden State out. 21 minutes, don't need him. Next game, 23 minutes in a blowout, don't need him. And it's like nobody plays him. Tough matchup against Phoenix, goes crazy. 45 fantasy points, 22, 6, 4, and 4 steals. And then it's like, oh man, I think we should look into Bogdan. Goes crazy again. And now it's like 5,700. It's hard not to like. He just
the top two options are out, dude.
I know they're out, and you're right. You're 100% right.
And Gallinari's out too.
And Gallo's out.
Hunter's out.
Hunter's out. They're like literal top 4 scorers this year are out. So yeah, I'm completely fine with it. I just wanted to state that he is a roller coaster of emotion. He's very aggressive sometimes defensively, and that puts him in like foul trouble early, and then he like is very, just the way he plays, he's very passive after that. So just he pisses me off, but he's very good. I love the play. Good play. Going to be very popular. I feel more comfortable playing NAW at this ownership than I do at Bogdan, but I do like Bogdan as well.
I got to ask you about one more Hawk, by the way, and only because we just discussed how many players are out, and it almost makes me nauseous to bring this guy up, but he's so cheap. I'm seeing 44 on DraftKings. Lou Williams against this sad Pelicans defense.
It's interesting.
I think we could lock him in for 23 to 25 minutes tonight.
It's interesting, and he played 22 last night in his debut, and he didn't look good. I mean, he shot 3 of 10 from the floor, but we know Lou Williams can shoot like 5 of 13 from the floor, but he's very good at getting to the free throw line. He's one of the best in the NBA at drawing fouls. He has that Kevin Durant move that he draws a lot of contact on.
Right.
So like I think he's good. Like 4,400 is a cheap price tag for a guy who's likely going to play minutes.
No cash games. No cash
Yeah,
games.
no. Fetzy, I don't want to say it, and I really shouldn't say it, but like Tony Snell played 44 minutes last night.
Right.
He's 3,400. Like I think there's better value. I don't think we need to go here personally. Like I don't. But 3,400, 44 minutes. Like he could stumble into 5x value at that price.
That's very true. There we go. Look at us talking Hawks value. Let's move on to the power forwards, talk some big men here because, I mean, we all know about Portland's defense or lack thereof. I mean, I got to give Robert Covington a lot of credit. He's done a great job. But Giannis is another beast that no one can contain. So you're cool with the price tag of $11K on FanDuel.
Yeah, he's my top spend today. Hasn't been overly aggressive offensively, I'd say. I think that's like a fair assessment of Giannis lately. But it's hard to dislike the best player in fantasy at times in a 240 total. So yeah, in a very fast game environment. I mean, there's really nothing to dislike about Giannis. He's my top spend, and I got nothing really else to add. Like the ownership suggests he's going to be highly owned, and he should be.
So then let me ask you this here, because we got Tatum versus Houston, which is obviously a strong matchup. But then you got Porzingis. 8K on DraftKings, man. Very hard to pass up because, like I said, the Knicks inside is just so exposed. Forget the fact that it's a revenge narrative or anything, but the fact that the inside is so exposed, and I've been going after Porzingis with weak inside options defensively, and I feel like it's a great price point on DraftKings.
So my issue personally is I think this position is super strong in terms of value today. So if you're playing on FanDuel, for example, and you're using Giannis, I don't know if Porzingis fits the build as like power forward 2.
Sure.
I think a lot of where I would like to be is in Jaden McDaniels, the Markieff Morrises of the world, and then someone who didn't make the playbook, but I've been honestly looking at all day, James Johnson, who played 28 minutes last night, Fensty, and started, by the way, played 28 minutes, 17, 3, 2, and 2 blocks. That's a James Johnson line like to a T. James Johnson is a very good defender. He's very just aggressive everywhere. He's aggressive on the glass. He's aggressive offensively. He hit 3 threes last night, and now there's no Josh Hart. Like, I could see James Johnson just kind of filling the Josh Hart role tonight.
And he'll bring up the ball, too.
Fensty, he is stone cold min salary on DraftKings. 30 stone cold min salary on FanDuel. So 3,500, 3,000 on FanDuel, DraftKings, respectively. For a guy who's going to start on a team where nobody else is active. I like Porzingis, and you could play him over Giannis if you feel strongly about like Dame or if you feel strongly about Luka, and I think that's fine. I like Giannis as my top spend up, so obviously I'll be looking in the value tier, and I want to throw a name out there to you, and I want to get your take. And it's off the board, it's off the radar type of play that I don't think a lot of people are going to go to, but Nathan Knight, the Hawks rookie, had a couple games earlier this year when Capella was out and Ngakou was out too, and he was getting the backup center run. And in those 2 games, he played 20 plus minutes, 35 and 22 fantasy points. So no Gallo, no Collins, Capella on a back-to-back. I have to imagine, he played 44 minutes last night, Fancy.
That'll back up a little bit.
Would not shock me to see those minutes take a drastic hit. I mean, this guy was playing 22 minutes 2 weeks ago, right? Like, we literally were like, why is Clint Capella not playing? So I'm just throwing Nathan Knight's name out there. He is a fantasy point per minute monster, over 1 on the year when he's been on the floor. So
and what his matchup is going to be? What, Jackson Hayes?
yeah, I mean, it's a dart. It is a mass multi-entry tournament play. It's nothing you use in cash. It's nothing you use in single entry. But I did want to bring him up. He's stone cold min again, and the Hawks are really hurt coming off a double overtime game last night. Just wanted to throw him out there because I think if Nathan Knight gets on there for 20 minutes, I think he could cause a lot of havoc.
And I was about to ask you about Lowry marketing, but forget that, man. You just gave two options much cheaper at this point.
I mean, I don't hate Markkanen or Thad. I think they're both they both looked great in a really tough matchup against Phoenix, right? One of them probably sees Royce O'Neal, and that's not fun because Royce O'Neal is a very good defender. I would assume Markkanen would see Royce O'Neal, and that's not fun. But I like them both. I like their price tags, so I think you can go with either of those guys. But again, it all comes back to, I mean, I can't say I'll put Markkanen in that value in that mix, right, because he's the same price as Markieff Morris, but Markieff gets Sacramento. And Jaden McDaniels, by the way, throw him out there. Shout out John and Pemba. Jaden McDaniels, great value tonight as well.
John has been so good with random Minnesota Timberwolves this
year.
He
really has. He really has.
First one on. Now, Anthony Edwards was the number one overall pick, but people were already writing him off, not even thinking about him. Everybody was obsessed with LaMelo and Tyrese Halliburton and quickly. But he was the first one on Edwards. I believe he was the first one on Beasley, too, before that. And now McDaniels. Man, he's the Timberwolves whisperer at this point. Let's talk about centers, man, because this is not going to be easy, especially if you want to spend up here. Is this another position that you're looking at value? Maybe someone like the Time Lord, Robert Williams, here in a good matchup versus Houston. You like anyone up top in particular?
I mean, it's hard not to like Capella, but again, it's like I'm very hesitant to go
scared.
there.
You've got me convinced. You've got me scared, Grande.
Dude, I mean, they didn't play this guy a lot of minutes just a couple weeks ago, and now he's played 35 and 44 in a 2-day span or a 3-day span, and now has to play again against Steven Adams. Like,
I don't like
Jackson it. And Jackson Hayes. Like, dude, I don't like that's.
And you know what? Something that we discussed, you, me, and John and Pemba yesterday, was that Capella's usage doesn't go up with some of these guys out. I have to check it with Trey, but I was looking at it with Collins out, and
it doesn't. It
doesn't
go up.
It really doesn't. He's the same guy.
I will say, I want to give Clint Capella a shout out though. 10 for freaking 10 from the foul line last night, Fensty. I bet you that is the first time he's ever done that in the NBA. Without looking, I bet you that's the first time he's ever done that. Hit all 10 of his free throws. He shoots very poor. But yeah, I think Robert Williams and Gobert are probably the two guys that I'd be most intrigued by. We know we attack the Bulls, and I guess Vucevic presents a different, type of matchup for Gobert, but Gobert has been really solid.
What about Valanciunas? Wait, let's talk about Joe Val under 8K on DraftKings. I believe that fits into one of our rules, Grande.
Yep, it does. And you know who the top team to attack in terms of DVP at center is this year, Pensy?
Oh, it has to be Minnesota.
It is Minnesota.
Because Towns sucks on defense.
Yep. It is. So I'm with you. I could definitely get behind some Joe Val.
He was kind of hiding there in the bushes with some of these other players. He's actually at a great price point tonight.
Yeah, he is at a great price point, and I think Robert Williams pops to me. I think he does. But in a tournament, I have to agree. I think Joe Val could be pretty sneaky. I think a pivot away from Capella for $400 cheaper on DraftKings. That makes for a great pivot, Fancy. Kudos to you, brother.
No, hey man, look. What about Rashawn Holmes while we're at it? Lakers dealing with their own health issues. No.
No. Fancy. He has been tough. Look. If you asked me a few years ago when he was playing 20 minutes a game, if he was in Phoenix, if he was going to be this guy, I would have probably told you no. And by probably, I mean I would have definitely told you no.
Check this out: 4 straight double-doubles, and every game, at least for his last 5, multiple blocks.
Yep.
Actually, multiple blocks in his last 6 games.
9 of 10, Fancy. 9 of 10.
Wow.
2 or more blocks. He has failed to put up 30 fantasy points once over his last 10 games, and he got in foul trouble against Philly.
Right.
And didn't recover. Every other game, it's been 30 or more. We know we've attacked the Lakers. Yes, Marc Gasol is there, but this is a shell of Marc Gasol, the defensive player of the year. This isn't someone that we're scared off of.
No.
Oh man, Marc
Gasol. The Lakers don't even want to play him. They really they are forced to play him at this point.
But what happens when they don't? They go to a undersized Montrezl Harrell, who Richaun Holmes is going to be able to just reach over and grab offensive boards and defensive boards against. So, I love Holmes as well. I think that's a great spot. And I've loved attacking the Lakers, to be honest, without Davis and LeBron, and now no Drummond. That's not gonna change a bit. No,
by the way, injury note, Ricky Rubio right now questionable with a back injury going into tonight. He's James Grande. Follow him on Twitter at @the_real_Grande. You can follow me, Justin Fensterman, at Fensty Sports on Twitter. Grande, it's been real. A lot of streams for us this week, man. But hey, it's always a good time with you, man. Always dominate. No other option on fantasyalarm.com. We just win.